Whether you're watching, listening or reading this, welcome back to the Runpreneur vlog, where I'm on a mission to raise £1 million for children's charities by run vlogging the distance of one lap around the world. It's a staggering 40,075 kilometres. It's going to take somewhere in between 14 and 15 years to accomplish, so plenty of time to raise that money. I'm going to do a minimum of 5 kilometres every day, and I'm even going to do it barefoot style. And those regular listeners will know I vlog about my passions, which are entrepreneurship and running. And it is a beautiful morning today. It's pretty fresh. It's about 1 degree or so, but we're running by the wonderful River Thames in Staines. We've been working away from yesterday, and it's Thursday travels today, where I give my update on the challenge and how the fundraising is going. And I'm pleased to be joined by one of my business partners, Roy Lavin, today. We'll say hello, Roy.
Hello. All right.
And so if you like this episode, give it a like and a subscribe, and let's get started. So, the challenge update. Well, normally I do an update on how the challenge is going, but I'm 313 days in now. I've raised 17,000 for children's charities so far, so it's going quite nicely. But we haven't really launched the challenge yet, and we're gearing up for launch. So a lot of work at the moment is going into the website, getting all my social media accounts optimised and updated with the challenge information, and getting the sponsorship mechanism in place so people can donate nice and easily. Just going to pass some people here. But one of the key things that we're going to be doing with the challenge is trying to get as many people to join the journey. Okay, so it's clearly 40,075 kilometres is a long way to go, and the idea behind it is that we're going to try and get as many people to do a 5k run with me. If they can't run it, no problem, cycle it, and I'll run it and be part of that journey. And everybody who does this will be recognised and listed on the website as a participant in the challenge, so they'll be part of the fundraising journey. And we'll just take a donation off of people to do that. And obviously if I'm having to travel far afield from people, the donation needs to be a bit more sizable to get me to travel to where we go. Roy doesn't know it yet, but running with me today means he has to donate. So and generously, because we're quite a long way away from Cambridge, so that'll be something that he's not aware of. But as I control the finances in our businesses, he will be donating. He'll have no say. So thanks, Roy. It's very generous of you, my good friend. So I'm going to have a chat with Roy, because I don't know if you've listened to some of my previous episodes, you know I talked about meeting a business partner when running. Well, that is actually Roy. And the way that kind of happened was, well, firstly I just broke him so he couldn't say no, because you find that your resistance kind of wanes somewhat when you're running.
That was stupid, no, cash on the hip.
No, but on a serious point, you learn a lot about people when you run, because when you run, depending on the distance, etc., you're going to go through experiences where it's not hard, it's not easy, it gets a lot harder. You're running on empty, you're depleted, you want to quit, you go through all these emotions. It's kind of normal with running, certainly when you're doing distance running. And me and Roy kind of got into the more endurance events at a similar time. And you also talk to people, and when you run, I think it's because your body's working so hard that you generally talk, you're quite open, because your mind's focused on keeping running, that you're perhaps not completely, if you were going to hold something back, I think emotionally your mind's so busy and active with actually running that you actually find that you open up to people a lot more, and you're a lot more transparent. And I think that's how mine and Roy's journey kind of came together. We're just talking about business and stuff that we're doing together, and it evolved into forming a business partnership, which is still going strong. which is I'm pleased to say. So Roy, question for you is kind of why do you run? What do you get out of running? It's probably a good one to start with.
Well, I've always run just for fitness really. I played football on a Saturday, so it was always just to get on top of that. Not necessarily blessed with a lot of pace or skill, but I always had my fitness. Always had my fitness as to be able to compete against other players who are probably technically better. Ultimately, it was all about winning the battle, and I always knew that I wasn't going to have two of it in abundance. I knew my fitness, and if I was fitter than anybody else, I could compete at a high level. So that was the main reason. And then just over time, you meet more people, and they kind of, you can see, I'm not really into it, but PBs and that, you can see they're improving, and so that competitive nature comes out again. And just got to try and work hard to keep up with everybody else. So just kind of took shape from there, really.
So Roy is, I think it's probably quite a similar journey that a lot of people do. When you're a bit younger, I don't think Roy will mind me telling people that he's 42.
I don't look it.
You look 52, pal. But anyway, I'm 39, so
good life.
So we're at the age now where, like some of the more physically demanding, fast twitch muscle fibre type activities like football and squash and these things that we both used to kind of get involved in, you kind of get to an age where fitness is the wrong word. It's not like you lose your fitness. It's a different type of fitness. I think your body kind of moulds more into kind of being more endurance based or strength related rather than speed based. I think ultimately you lose a yard of pace, and that's what they always say about football. And so it seems to be like a natural evolution to move into kind of a more endurance or strength based exercise or sport, and that's kind of where the running comes from. And I think it's so good to keep a baseline of fitness that you stay in shape. And I know from personal experience that it's I used to be able to get away with eating whatever I want. My metabolism was super quick. But metabolism also slows a little bit when you get a bit older, and it's not quite as kind to you. So if you put away a few too many lagers, or if you put away too much poor food, it can show a little bit, whereas back in the day you would have got away with that. And I think running's so good at keeping the metabolism kick-started, burning those extra calories so that you can try and stay in optimal shape. That's something that I've found anyway. So what about the kind of mental aspect, Roy? What do you get? Do you say you get more from running physically, or would you get more from running mentally? And focusing more on the mental aspects, what does it kind of give you? How does it help you?
Oh yeah, it's definitely both. I mean, I'm a deep thinker, so quite often you can go into a bit of a trance. So I do 5 miles and not even know about it, because I'm thinking so much about things. But it does help you when you've got problems, just to take an hour or so just to go out and clear your head and work your way through the problem the best way you can. So yeah, the mental side is important, and there's been some dark moments in life, and 100% the running's been able to help me through those times. And as I say, done a lot of thinking, and sometimes the world's not as bad as you think it is. When you give yourself a break, and you take yourself off somewhere, and then the bonus is obviously you've come back, had a good physical workout at the same time. So there's two dual benefits to it from that point of view, definitely.
All right, well I think that's important to realise, because we're both in business, have our own businesses that we run, and when I started the blog it was always about helping entrepreneurs, but I think as the blog has evolved, it's more about helping people, because I think what happens in life, whatever you do, you have stresses and pressures in life. Everybody does, daily and weekly ones, and I often talk about running being a release mechanism to kind of relieve and clear head of the pressures and stresses, process what's going on, gain clarity and refocus. And I think if I'm reading it correctly, that's kind of what Roy's using running for from a mental perspective, to kind of clear those pressures, relieve them, because otherwise, and I don't think Roy will be afraid to admit it, but I think there's been times where he's been massively overwhelmed and struggled, and I think there's a correlation there with that was during a period of time where you were not doing any exercise or running.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
would you agree?
Yeah, I get overwhelmed a lot. But that's one of the things running does. It just helps you take stock of things. But I think everybody goes through feelings of overwhelm in some form or another. You know, so, but yeah, I mean it just kind of gives you that chance just to clear your head, because when you are overwhelmed, you know, I'm sure I'm feeling to many other people, you start flapping, you know, not thinking clearly. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of just taking yourself off and going for a run.
Yeah, and I think
it clears the mind anyway.
Yeah, and I think that
clears the soul.
I think, you know, what we were saying there as well. Everybody experiences this stuff. No matter, it's all relative to your circumstances, to your life, your personality. But everybody experiences stress, and if you don't manage stress correctly, it will evolve to overwhelm. And where it starts getting overwhelmed, where if you don't address it at that point, it's where you start seizing and procrastinating, because you've got too many things going on in your head. And then if you don't act, that will then evolve into anxiety and panic, and that's when you're kind of into the world of anxiety attacks and, you know, diagnosed mental health challenges. You know, a lot of people struggle with anxiety, and that's clearly what we want to avoid, having kind of mental health challenges of that magnitude. So I think there's a lot of evidence here that shows that, you know, somebody I work with also uses running in a very similar way, and it becomes, I don't know about you, Roy, but for me, I wouldn't say I enjoy running, but it just becomes a habit. It's something that I rely on, that gives me something that I don't get in other ways. But I don't look forward to running. But yeah, how do you find that? Do you love running?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You know, some days you just don't want to do it, and you have to really push yourself, and then hopefully at some point, as I do, you get lost in your thoughts. So then that you sort of get over that. But yeah, no, it's the thing for me is when you do it regularly, you sometimes feel if you're not doing it, your body kind of craves to do it in some respects. So you do, again, if I don't do it or I haven't done it for a few days, you do start to get a bit agitated, a bit ratty. So the best thing to do is just take yourself off and
we'll turn here, Roy.
Get out your system.
Yeah, turn here and go back. So no, that's yeah, I think that's really, really useful to know. And so how would you, let's go around these people. So on to the more business related activities then. You know, we're both entrepreneurs, trying to better our position, grow our position, build our net worth, provide legacy for families. How would you describe the journey so far? How's it going? What are you enjoying? What are you not enjoying? What are the challenges you're finding as an entrepreneur? Because we're very different in the way we work, in our skill sets, which I think is always a good sign in a partnership. So yeah, if you can answer that question.
Right, so I'll be honest, I do a lot of stuff that could probably be outsourced myself, but I just tend to get my head down, work through it. So I'm done, move on to the next one.
Are you saying I've outsourced to you?
You're Teflon King. So, yeah.
Okay, carry on, sorry.
Our aim of remote work is, but so some of us don't have that, you know, and yeah, you can just look at in the real days when there was no cash coming in, you know, it was, well, you couldn't, you had no option but just to roll your sleeves up and get stuck in, particularly on the portfolio, managing the tenants, doing the maintenance, and that's kind of, to a degree, kind of where I've stuck with my mindset, although I used to be very much like that in the previous role I had when I was a sales agent, a very successful time as a sales agent before I got into property. Again, when something wasn't done, when I needed it done, I'd learn how to do that job and do it myself. It was all about getting the quotes out, getting the money in. So, yeah, for me, I do things, I know I'm aware that I do things a bit backwards. I always use an analogy: if there's a door and a wall, I'd run through a wall rather than going through the door. It's always worked for me, but I always feel like I'm grafting really hard for long hours of the day, so something for me to try and do something in the future. But other than that, I'm quite happy.
I think
hard work, really hard work, especially when I do a fair bit of driving, get to different places, different sites, and it's pretty dead time. Make the odd call maybe, but it just means there's a lot of work to do in the evenings, first thing in the morning, so people rely on me for stuff, so, a lot of pressure, I put a lot of pressure on myself to get it done. Bottlenecks with me sometimes, which is frustrating also, so these sort of things we need to address, definitely.
Well, I like that analogy, and that Roy gave you there about, because to the extreme on the different ends of the continuum, the way my mind works and the way Roy's works is that, if there's a door and a wall, I'll go through the wall. Okay, my way of thinking about it is, how can I teleport to the other side without having to do anything? And it's a mindset thing, and Roy's not that way very focused, and that's not a bad thing. There's things that we both need to change in very different ways to improve and to grow and to develop as people. And but the one thing that for me it comes back, which is so important, is values. And I listen to a lot of kind of successful entrepreneurs, books and podcasts and things, and they talk about gut feel about people and trusting your instinct, and they talk about the importance of loyalty and trust, and they're probably two of the most important traits that I find with working with others. And if you trust someone implicitly and you know that loyalty is one of their highest values, then the rest can be developed and worked upon. And as long as you've both got the mindset where you're always looking to improve and grow as individuals, then you've got the good foundations for a successful partnership and hopefully a successful business. So I think having worked with Roy, he will often, we talk about the days where cash was tight, and any new business is going to go through that. And when you look at it, Roy's involved in the property business, and that's been going for 15 years plus. It's a bit more of an established business. Doesn't mean it hasn't had its cash flow challenges like any business, but all the other businesses we're involved in are like 8 to 9 months, 10 months old. So they're so young, so in their infancy, and to have them profitable and performing like they are in such a short space of time is something that, we all had a glass of champers in the garden last night, just to kind of celebrate that, we've done really, really well. But we're not under any illusions that the journey is still very much in its infancy, and there's going to be so many trials and tribulations that we need to overcome in the future. But the key fundamentals, or to summarise here, is that this partnership in particular is based on trust and loyalty, and if you have that right and integrity is there, then it's really good foundations for kind of growing and expanding in the right way.
It's like a marriage, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's very similar.
Easy.
Oh no, not to you.
Yeah, go on.
Friend.
Go on.
No, but it is, and it is. You go through the ups and downs, and I think we've been at breaking point a few times over that time. But what it does is you come to calm down, see through the bigger picture, and it's just part of history, something to have a little laugh about and look back on. But it certainly helps.
Yeah, and
if you've got an issue, You know, don't go hiding, don't go start like with a contingency, looking at doing other stuff. Just talk to each other, even if it comes in shouting and swearing. If you want to get it repaired, then you've got to put the yardage in to repair it.
I think there's a good example there at Breaking Point, where we've just done a nice new home renovation. You know, tenants are about to move in, and Roy decides to walk through the wall than the door. Do you know what I mean? That sums it up. I'm really joking there, but no, it's good. And I think often you learn a lot more from the bad or negative experiences. That's where you learn.
Yeah.
You know, the more failures you have, the more successful you become, because you learn an awful lot more. And I think I use that in the running world as well. I mean, I've had some. I remember my first London Marathon, like it was yesterday, and I wouldn't say I was undertrained, but I was inexperienced in an event of such magnitude. I was fit, I had marathon fitness, no problem, but I went off way too quick. I got caught up in the adrenaline, and coming back, you know, I remember feeling it at 7 miles, and the next 19.2 was the longest 19.2 miles I've ever experienced. And I remember that last 5k, I was out on my feet. You know, I couldn't see. If someone would have just nudged me, I'd have fallen over and fallen to sleep instantly. I was that depleted, and that is the hardest experience I've ever had as a runner. Now, when I'm doing other events and things, I start to feel a bit tough. It feels like it's getting hard work. I bring my mind back to those memories, because they're what gets you through. If you can get through a situation like that, then everything else should be far easier. And I think the same goes for business. You know, we're going to come up against new issues, new challenges. It's a roller coaster ride, but we've been through some pretty, you know, I've almost been bankrupt. I talk about it sometimes. And, you know, when you've been to that level, there's not a lot that kind of competes with that in terms of the level of how bad things get. And I think when you've got that kind of stored in the memory bank, it is actually an asset, because it can pull you through some pretty tough times. Okay, we'll just draw this to a close now. Thanks for your time today, Roy. I think it's really enjoyable. It's nice to speak to people who use running in a similar way to myself, obviously involved in business as well, because as I said, this vlog has always been about, the content has always been geared around helping people, and helping people overcome the emotions of stress, overwhelm and anxiety by using exercise, or in my case running, as a release mechanism to kind of clear your head, relieve those daily, weekly pressures in the form of stress, you know, and process what's going on, get clarity, refocus and move on. And I think if you don't have that process in your life, stress can evolve to overwhelm and, you know, worst case, to anxiety, which is clearly something we want to avoid. Now, I've been there before myself on many occasions. I've lost businesses because of my inability to manage these emotions. I've lost business partners, and I've almost been bankrupt. And it's not a nice place, and I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. And my pledge to anybody who's listening to this or watching it is that if you are struggling with these emotions, you know, drop me a message. There's no catch here. Like, the Runpreneur vlog is not, there's no sale, there's no monetization of anything here. There's always the option to donate, but that's all charitable. There's no catch. And I'll jump on a call with you, and I'll give you some hints and tips that have been game changing for me, that I know are transferable to you. And there's no coincidence that since doing this running vlog, which is my release mechanism, for the last 10 months, I've made more progress than I have in the previous 4 years. So there should be enough social proof there to show this stuff works. And it's often easier asking a stranger for help than someone nearest and dearest. And it doesn't always cost anything, you just have to be prepared to ask. So, that's it for me today. As always, if you like this episode, give it a like, comment and a subscribe. If you want to check out the links in my bios, you can follow the journey of this challenge to raise £1 million for children's charities by run vlogging the distance of one lap around the planet. And all my content is catalogued nice and neatly by topic and playlist, so it should be easy to find stuff that's very relevant to you. So all that's left to say is thank you once again to Roy. Say bye.
Thank you. Yep.
And stay positive, stay happy. And I will say see you tomorrow, but I just want to get Roy to say that famous line. What do you say, Roy?
What line's that, mate?
Stay positive, stay happy, and then bye. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Stay happy, stay positive.
You got it the wrong way around, mate.
No.
Do it again. Come on.
Stay positive, stay happy.
And I'll see you tomorrow.
And you might see me tomorrow.
Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.